Welcome back to the PricePlow podcast. Today we are making a dream of mine real and podcasting in a actual manufacturing facility, and the brand that is allowing us to do it is Veritacor. So we've been here for a couple of days, and we've had a couple incredible days getting to know you guys and learn your facility. So we usually start off at the PricePlow podcast talking about where the guests are from, how they got here, and I know you guys have two really colorful stories. So Frank, Derek, thank you so much for joining us. I'd love for you guys to introduce yourselves, Frank first and then Derek, and getting into how you guys got here and getting into the story of Veritacor.
Sure. Well, thanks for coming. Thanks for enjoying the past couple days with us. It's been a pleasure to have y'all here. My name is Frank Santos. I'm the CEO of Veritacor Manufacturing. Born in Austin, Texas, and grew up here in Luling, where Veritacor is located. I've actually known Derek the majority of my life. Derek grew up in Luling as well. We parted ways, saw each other again years down the road, and who would have known what journey we'd be on that led us to today. But it's been fun, it's been exciting, and we have really high hopes for the future of what Veritacor can not only do for our clients, but for this community and for the family that, you know, is part of this brand.
Yes, my name is Derek Curtis. I'm the COO here. Last couple of days have been great with you guys. Thanks for doing this and putting this on for us.
Yeah.
Well, getting started. Years ago, back in the early 2000s, I had a buddy of mine getting into supplements, and he had this idea. He pitched to me and goes, "Hey, we're going to import Botanicals from India, and we're going to bag them up, and we're going to sell them online." So that's kind of how my start was with the supplement industry.
I love talking with manufacturers. By the way, we have Joey Savage with us.
And I am Joey Savage.
I'm so sorry.
And I'm going to be guest co-hosting this PricePlow podcast. You may have seen me from other guest host PricePlow podcasts and, all the stuff I do with Ben and TK and all that stuff.
Thank you.
I'm just here for support.
For anyone listening, Joey got voted in this year as the guest when Mike can't travel with me, and I'm so happy to
Here
do
for
this.
it.
Yes. I've said this a couple times over the last couple of days that I love visiting manufacturers, because when we talk with brands, brands bring a product to market, they sell it, but when I talk with manufacturers, you learn so much more about the trials and tribulations and hurdles of creating products. We were in a room today where you guys were talking about an auger that couldn't move a powder, and that's something that we never get to talk to you about with brands. Brands talk about e-commerce or marketing, but when we get into nitty gritty of like the properties of the powders that we're talking about and stuff like that, like I love that kind of conversation. So I love like that blue collar aspect of doing the work, that hard work that actually creates a product and brings it to life. And I think that you guys are uniquely involved in that. So just what you were saying, like importing botanicals and selling it.
Yes.
That's a huge, like getting it to America. These things come from all around the world, and there's so much that goes into that. So I think there's a rich backstory of both you guys behind Veritacor, but for the purpose of today, could we talk about when Veritacor was founded and like kind of how we get to
And why
here?
you decided to jump into this?
Yeah, so December of 2019 is when we grand opened. 2018 is when, who had the brilliant idea of getting into manufacturing?
That was you.
Yeah, so we say that and we joke about it. We have so much purpose every day coming to work, because the complexity that goes on in manufacturing, I would have never fathomed what we'd be getting into. But at the same time, with that being said, that's one of the things I'll say for myself that brings me here every day, because you never know what you're walking into. Sometimes there's challenges, but sometimes we have opportunities like this. But in 2017, Derek was alluding to his background. Derek actually hired me to work for his company. And when I started with Derek, I just knew my background was just from supplements I'd taken since I was in college, and have taken pretty religiously my whole life. But I didn't know. I just assumed when I bought something from a store that what I was reading on the label was in the bottle. But I never thought about how it was made. I just took it. And so when Derek hired me on, my sole role was to just sales, grow the business. And so, but through that, Derek was mentoring me on the industry. And when I was making calls to just grow our business, then from time to time I would hear conversations that I was having with potential customers, you know, do you know of a manufacturer? We're looking for a manufacturer. We're having problems with our current manufacturer. Now, little did that person know we were going through the same challenges. And so after I heard this enough times, I asked Derek, you know, I feel like there's opportunity here. Why are we not manufacturing? So when I asked that, you know, Derek's reaction was, you know, hey, we're doing good with what we got going on. I've done some manufacturing. Why don't we just stick to our lane here? So just brushed it off, kept making calls, kept hearing the same story, brought it to Derek's attention again. And this time he was like, okay, let's talk about it. You know, so little did Derek know at that time, I knew that if we had an idea and if we were passionate about it and we believed in it, we could reach out to our family, who is our business partners, and they would at least be open to hear what we were proposing. So we went to Austin. We went to a vegan restaurant. So one of our business partners is my sister. She's always trying to influence us to eat healthier, eat our greens. So we sit down at this vegan restaurant. I remember I had like a Frito pie, which I will say, and I always say, hey, it tasted good. You know, I enjoyed it. But when we were at that meeting, you know, we had come up with a business plan that we thought was genius, right? It was like, hey, we're gonna start with an encapsulator, we're gonna encapsulate, we're gonna work our way up, bottle it, you know, ourselves, with whatever sales we get, we'll piece together another machine and another machine. So in our business plan, it was bare bones, right? So we presented this business plan at this restaurant, and I mean, it was, I still remember it vividly. It's like we pushed the business plan over, and then my brother-in-law, who's another partner in the company, just turned it around. He's like, you better sharpen your pencil. And so we kind of took us off guard, you know, and we finished the conversation. We get in the truck, and Derek's like, man, is he serious?
What do you mean, like, you better sharpen your pencil, like to take notes or like get ready to put it in action?
No, so we took it as like what we had come to the table with, we needed to think bigger.
Oh. It was just a bare bone business plan. I mean, just like he said, it was just going to be an encapsulator. I was thinking maybe, you know, like an upgraded capsule counter or something to bottle. And that was it, and we were just going to piece it together. But, you know, he was like, no, you guys need to think bigger than that. And I was like, for real? You know, does he understand, you know, how much this can be? Because, you know, you can buy one piece, and you're going to still spend tens of thousands of dollars on it. But to make it
so he was in, but he wanted to do it right.
Yes,
from the beginning.
Exactly.
Yeah, so,
exactly.
You know, they were open to it. They just wanted to know more about it. What's the plan? They also said, look, if we decide to do this, there's no cutting corners. Yeah. We're going to learn how to do this according to industry standard, the right way, and then exceed expectation. So we needed to reach out to engineers. We talked to lawyers. We flew to China, trade shows, Las Vegas, California. We did everything to immerse ourselves in an industry 3 of us out of the 4 knew nothing about. And so when we made that commitment to one another, then we took it as, okay, well, let's go back and sharpen our pencil. Let's get our vision tightened up. Let's dream bigger. And then let's have another meeting. You know, I was just looking at, this was a board meeting. It was on a receipt, and it was from 2019. And on the receipt says board meeting, and then we started to outline like our vision for Veritacor, and we were talking about website design. But even at that time, before we even started, we needed to commit to one another, to our business partners, that we were just going to do it one way, you know, and we were going to just absorb as much as we could with like who we thought were experts in the industry. So that's what we did. And we still joke about this because sometimes when we need to laugh and challenges come up, then we're talking to our business partners, we're like, well, look, we just wanted to do an encapsulator, when we first started, so we just joke about it, because when we grand opened in 2019, these machines that you see here and in the other building, that was before we even had one client. So all along we've walked in faith, and we've believed in our vision, and believed in one another.
And that's one of the things, like, I've actually known you guys since like the beginning days when this was like just one building, and like even the building across the way wasn't like fully done for like doing powders. And I remember walking into this place thinking like, God damn, this place is clean. Like from the very beginning, like all the equipment was new, everything was super clean. And I'm like, this is like manufacturing wise, the equivalent of a garage kept hot rod. Like everything is pristine when you walk into this place. The floors in this hallway as you're walking down, like everyone knows in a manufacturing environment, there's the notorious one-way walkway with windows where you can look in. It's like stripper rules. You can look, but you can't touch. The floor is pristine. Everything in this place is pristine. And there's plenty of manufacturers out there that are, high throughput, very massive capacity and everything. And there's a little dirt in different places and stuff. And you just don't find that here. And that's one of the things, like, I knew from the beginning, like, this place was just unique because of, like, you walk into this place, and we're in the middle of a bottling line right now. There's all kinds of different equipment you can kind of see in the background, but this entire place is spotless. There's no dust. There's no nothing anywhere. It is kept remarkably clean. And I kind of think that that's, like, a testament to how well you guys are running this operation right here, because there are several manufacturers that, Ben, you admit, you've tried to do this shot at several different manufacturers, but there's not many that are proud enough and clean enough where they're like, you know what? Yeah, we'll do it right in the middle of the production floor. And like, we're in a place where you can do that. You could eat off this floor and be like completely fine. And the fact that like, that was like, 6 years ago, and you've still held that standard up until this day.
Yeah.
Doing this podcast has been like the forbidden idea that I've been chasing for a long time, like the El Dorado, but no one will ever let me actually film a podcast in the middle of a bottling line. And the fact that you guys are not just crisp and clean, but presentable. I mean, this place is almost made for content. This hallway here is gorgeous. The people should be invited here. People should be excited to come see their products run here. There's been a theme this week of Frank asking me, like, do other people do this? And it's like, a large majority of them do not in many cases, right? And I'm kind of reminded of that whole idea of like measure twice, cut once. Like it seems like everything you guys have done, you've consulted with the experts, you've reached out and found the people who know what they're talking about, and really doing it right the first time. A lot of stories in this industry, we talk about people who kind of got their seed money for the companies, like doing some nefarious things, and then they clean up. But it seems like everything here has been done right the first time. You guys have some really, you have faith in these rules that you've made for yourselves, and the only things that you do adhere to those rules. And I like that a lot. It seems like every decision that you make, you guys think about it from a philosophical standpoint. Does this make sense for who we are and what we do? And it sounds, I've heard like you guys say no often because of those rules, and that's powerful. So I'm really excited for your name to get out there and for people to work with you guys, because I feel really confident bringing our partners here. And that says a lot, in my opinion. I don't want to bring people everywhere, but you guys have proudly put down testing in front of us. You've taken us through every single room in these buildings and showed us that there's not much hidden, I can tell.
So with all this in mind, like, how would you describe, like, what is like your ideal customer in terms of like size and volume and the capabilities that you guys have to offer them?
Yeah, it's evolved. When we first opened, we didn't have a client. So when we haven't done outbound calls and lead generation at that time. So everything was word of mouth. Everything was, through a website that we had. And from time to time, we would have somebody call. But it was, okay, well, can you do 250? Can you do 500? And we said yes. Those days when we were doing those runs, that's what kept the doors open. And not only that, those clients have actually stayed with us. And from 250 to 500, now it's 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, and continued to grow. But currently, and as you can see through these machines, I mean, these machines are all fully automatic. In an 8-hour shift, depending on bottle count, we can get 8 to 10,000 bottles out, so they're made to run. So now with where our infrastructure is, with where our team is, the ideal size for us are larger runs, 5, 10, 30, 100,000. We can do that stuff here with quality and in a timely fashion.
Yeah, we've talked about this a lot this week about how you guys would prefer to work with companies who can scale and run bigger runs because of the costs that come in with the quality that you guys are assuring. We've talked a lot about cleaning lines. It's funny, with different manufacturers, we talk about different things, and a lot of people like to talk about innovation and all sorts of new technologies and stuff, but it feels really good to talk with people who are mostly talking about the quality and efficacy that they're assuring with their stuff. Can we talk about certifications? You guys are NSF, but
NSF, FDA registered NSF. Our plans are for 2026. SQF is our next goal. USDA, organic, kosher, halal. We say this, an adage, and I've said this to you all, like, we want to be great at blocking and tackling, and still every day we're learning, and still every day our processes are improving. So it's not, hey, today we made it, it's, hey, whatever we did last year, if we're still doing it that way, we may be behind the times. So how can we continue to do better? This is something that Derek preaches all the time. Let's not get complacent with where we're at. What can we do better? So certifications and improving upon the certification, increasing the certifications, because we do have clients now that are looking to us and they're asking us, okay, you have NSF, you're FDA registered, do you have this or do you have that? And so these are goals for us for 2026 that we'll have. But currently NSF registered and FDA registered.
how long did it take you to get NSF, and what did that look like doing?
Yeah, so right out of the gate, when we grand opened, I tried to get us an audit like within the first 3 months. But little did I know, they were like, well, you have to have production running, and we have to be able to
audit records.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, you can't come right now. And they were like, no. So within the first year, we had NSF Audit come out and we passed with flying colors. So since 2019, we've held registration with them every year.
What does NSF, what does that mean in terms of manufacturing supplements?
I'll let Derek take this one.
NSF is one of the higher level certifying companies or organizations. You have UL, also NSF. I think they're a little more stringent, and they go by a lot more, not just what the CFR, following the guidelines there. They want to go above that. They want a little more than what's asked of you by the FDA or the government. So, they go out and look at what best industry practices are, and they try to each year they're always adding a little extra to the audits, making sure you're going above and beyond what's required by the government.
So for people listening, CFR is the Code of Federal Regulations,
Yes.
right? That's like the bare minimum
Yes.
to do these things legally. And I think a lot of people don't realize that that bare minimum includes things like third-party testing, right? You have to prove scientifically that your labels are valid. People act like a lot of these things are going above and beyond, but that's actually kind of base there. NSF takes it a step further.
Yes.
In a lot of ways.
Well, and to me, it's a validation of the processes, right? So what I've learned is, on a label you may see GMP sticker on there or a logo, but that just, okay, you're saying that, but who's validating that?
Did you know that all those logos are fake? That there's not an official GMP logo?
Yeah, well, and
Put out
that's,
by
what,
FDA
that's
labels.
like the marketing or the perception out there. I didn't know until we started doing this. And so for me, NSF, it's not just us saying we're doing something. It's a third party that is completely biased to Veritacor that is coming in for a week at a time, and they're saying, okay, you're saying you're doing this, prove it to us. And you're going to have to prove it to us, not just by saying it. We're going to dig through all your processes and your paperwork, and we're going to verify if what you say you're doing, you are. From ordering ingredients, sampling, testing, cleaning, manufacturing. I mean, everything, how we receive, how we ship, retain samples, documentation, so to me, like when I hear NSF now, from what I understand, it's just you say you're doing something and you say your manufacturing process is quality, you're going to have to prove it to us.
And like other things like making sure your bathroom is cleaned frequently enough, making sure you have pest prevention and like traps for rodents and how often you spray for bugs and what kind of pesticides that you use.
Yeah. When you can see when you walk around the buildings, there's bait boxes around, and there's a number associated with it, and there's a log that we hold that quality goes through, and not only that, but then we have to verify the pest control. And what chemicals they're using, what chemicals they can't use. So to your point, it's digging deeper into the surface level stuff, and it's not just us saying we're doing it. Somebody's auditing us to show that we can prove that we're doing it.
So let's talk about when someone comes to you guys to create a brand. We can talk about certifications a lot, but really like where the rubber meets the pavement is. What does that look like when someone comes to you and wants to create a brand? That's a long process. Could be 8 to 12 weeks. Let's start from the top. I reach out to you, Derek, and I want to make my own pre-workout brand. How does it go from there?
Well, we'll discuss the formula with you. A lot of times, people come in and they already have a formula ready to go. Either they found one online they want to copy, or they
ChatGPT.
Yeah, they throw something together, and then we have to look at it, and then we have to sit there and go, is this going to work or is it not going to work, right? And we try to explain that to the customer about, some things that can't work. We've had people come in and they have like 4 grams of a formula and they want to stick it in 2 capsules. And it's hard to explain to them, this is not going to work, right? There are some out there that are like that, and there's certain ingredients that just, if you try to flavor them, then it's not gonna happen. They have too much of one type of ingredient that's just, it's so bitter. There's nothing you can do to mask it. And you try your best to explain to them that, we need to, change some things up. So we'll do that. So we'll go through that process, get everything situated, get the formula kind of, concreted in, and then, we figure the quote out, right? We'll create a spec sheet, start doing a little rough supplement facts panel, do the quote. If they agree on the quote, we get a down payment, and then we start the process there.
So the first level is really just kind of like fact checking and making sure it's possible.
Yes.
Right? Like you see problem ingredients, like we were talking about glycerol earlier,
Oh, yeah.
like a big clumping. Capsules, whether or not you want excipients and expectations or how much you can fit in a capsule. It's kind of like a top of funnel type stuff, making sure that it's a good fit, right?
Yes.
The things that they want to create are proper for Veritacor, that it meets your guys' needs or everything. Yeah. But from there, let's talk about the life cycle of creating a product, right? Sourcing the ingredients. Can we talk from
So once the quote's approved, the flavor's approved, and they're ready to pull the trigger, then it starts another set of events that go on.
Yes, that's a whole new thing we get into. So now, do the down payment. We start sourcing materials. So we have to validate all our vendors. They have to go through a process of being approved vendors. So, we send them out questionnaires, making sure that, they're doing things the correct way also. And then we put them on approved list, and then we'll start ordering and procuring the materials from these vendors.
What kind of things go into qualifying a vendor?
Well, man.
I'm sorry.
Well, we have, there's,
There's also 2 different paths. There's domestic
and foreign, right?
Yeah.
So we try to, we want to get everything here in the U.S. Because there's a whole new set of rules for verifying a foreign supplier. So it's that can be a headache.
It's mostly confirming that they're doing what they say they are,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Like making sure that you can test this product, that it meets the spec.
Yeah. So we'll receive material from them. Then we have to test their material to make sure that the potency's there, the purity, their microbial metal testing, the IDing of the ingredient, whatnot. So we do that, and that's part of the process of verifying or validating that.
Even as simple as like, is it a crystal? If they're calling it a crystal,
Yes.
is it the color they're saying it is, right? Just
So their COA, what's on their COA is being verified.
Well, and it can be real basic stuff too, like questionnaire, just business, where you're at, and then my understanding is, we want COAs. Can you provide COAs? Okay, well, creatine's a hot topic right now. We want to verify this vendor. We get their background information. We ask for their COAs. They send us a sample. That sample we send to the third-party lab to verify that it is what they said. Then we may get another sample of a different ingredient, L-citrulline. But we do multiple samples of that ingredient from that supplier and test their COAs. And then when they do pass, then it can move to a different phase and it can become a qualified vendor. Then when we first issue POs and they come in, that process still holds up. When it's received, quality goes, and the very first thing they do once they receive it is they check it in for our system, and then samples are pulled out, and those samples are sent to a third-party lab to test for identity, purity, potency, microbial, heavy metals. And then while we're waiting on that lab to give us the results, it goes into a quarantine area. It does not leave quarantine, and it does not get a certain sticker until the lab tells us that it passes. Once it passes, it gets a different color-coded sticker, and then it goes out of quarantine into a released area. It stays in release until production is ready to manufacture that product, and production says, okay, they go in our software system, we need a bill of material created for Joey's product. Joey's product has A, B, C, D, and that's the bill of material. Our warehouse pulls it, puts it on a pallet, and then make sure it conforms to the specification sheet, batch record, and then it goes into a blending process to get blended. And then if it's a powder, it goes into powder. If it's encapsulation, it goes into encapsulation, and then it goes on the packaging line.
So we got some really good footage of after this phase, once it's been released and everything, all lights are green and it's been accepted. We got some really cool footage of them kitting some products yesterday. And that was another thing that I kind of wanted to, we were talking about touching on this is like, once you've got all your raw materials and everything, the application of kitting out products and then the whole weighing system, the check weighing system, and being able to stage your production runs in that modular kind of process. You want to touch on that a little bit?
So the weighing and blending. So I believe, like we talked about it yesterday, that's the most important part of, to me, that's the area where things can actually go bad. You can ruin a product if you do not have that weighed out correctly and blended correctly. So when they go through that, there's two persons in there, and you'll have one who's pulling and weighing the material, and then you have the other one who's checking that weight and signing off on it, making, validating that that's been the correct weight.
Right, because when you create a product, where things can go wrong, I think that a lot of people that pay attention at home, they're like, well, I buy citrulline and arginine at the vitamin shop and I blend it in a blender bottle. How far could it go wrong? But we're talking about like a large quantity here, right?
Yes.
And they're bringing bags and bags and bags in. And the kitting, because you've already tested the product, right? Mm-hmm. And so because you're trying to set kind of like checkpoints along the way to protect yourself, right? So that when the product comes in and it's tested to come out of quarantine, we know it's what they say it is, right? So that way you don't have microbial issues, you don't have identity issues or anything. But now that you have an assurance that is what they say it is, now you have to make sure that it is the proper quantities are being brought in so they can even be blended correctly. So that kit makes sure that nothing is brought into that room that shouldn't be in there.
Yes.
But you also have exactly what you need, no more, no less, right? I was kind of explaining to someone, I forget who, that you go in there, if you need 4.5 pounds of something, you don't bring in 5 pounds and put 4.5 in. You only walk into that room with 4.5 pounds, so there's no possibility that there's a problem in the manufacturing, right?
Yes.
So everything's kitted, everything's ready to go, and we're in the room for blending. You guys use a ribbon blender here,
yes,
right?
They've also got a cone.
Yeah, we have a
right.
bin blender also. So it's just the ribbon blender and that one.
Right. So can we talk about types of blenders? Because I've brought this up on some podcasts, like how blending happens, and the science of blending itself can be kind of complicated, right? If you blend something for too long, it actually can segregate back out,
Yes.
right? So we've got so we're making a pre-workout in this instance. We've got 8 grams of citrulline, but we've also got 1 milligram of alpha-yohimbine, right? How do you make sure that blends uniformly?
So that will dilute the blend, right? So we'll actually build up that small amount of yohimbe into other ingredients, smaller amounts of ingredients,
pre-blends.
and do pre-blends. Yes. So we'll build that blend up to where it's a larger amount, say several kilograms or more, and then we'll dilute that off or charge it into the main blend.
So you mean to say that you kind of blend the bigger ingredients and then you blend the smaller ingredients and kind of...
We'll blend the smaller ingredients. So we'll blend the smaller ingredients to make a larger amount. We'll put some excipient in there also to build it up, depending on what ingredients are being put into the...
To kind of like bulk it a little bit.
Yes.
And so is that like an added cost when you're making like a larger scoop pre-workout or a more complicated different sizes of ingredients?
No, not really. The process is the process. So we when we quote it out, it's just, we don't look at it that way. That's just, we look at how many hours it's going to take for the job. We do our best to try to charge the customer, what it's going to cost us for labor.
Of course, we want it to be fair for everyone, but I think that a lot of people think that you guys just dump it all in one bin and blend it.
No,
right?
there's more of a process.
That'd be great if that's how it worked. Right?
No, it can be a very tedious process, and that, I feel like that's part of the point to doing manufacturing a certain way. We joke about this, it's almost like you have to be OCD with every single thing that you do. Because you can go down a rabbit hole with vendor qualification, with COA, specification sheets, how something's blended. Each step is from A to Z. And then within A to Z, there's A to Z. And then from B, there's A to Z. And C, there's A to Z. So the complexity of the blends, I just listen a lot of times with some of these conversations that they're having. But, for example, like you see this here.
That one's a really good example.
Yeah.
You have a very high dose something with a very small dose something.
And we have testing here for this specifically as well to kind of go through, which I'm really excited about. For people listening, we have a lot of listeners on the feeds. This is creatine monohydrate and PQQ from Core Culture. This is a really popular product, which is made at Veritacor.
In-house brand.
In-house brand. But I bring it up because the conversation, like when this needed to be blended, because of that small amount of PQQ in each, serving and then in each container, if you know where you need to be, how do we work back so that way we make sure when testing does come back and we have a label here and we're saying there's a certain label claim, how are we meeting that? So like what Derek's talking about, the mini blends and then charging it in at different times so that way you have a homogeneous blend in the end and then you can hit your label claim.
So you're now possibly using multiple lines to do different things, right? You're building up a smaller blend. Whereas, you could be using that blender to be doing some capsules instead, and you're using up more. And that all kind of is a testament to the fact you guys are doing it right the first time, right?
Well, it's easy to want to speed the process, especially when
when your customers are calling you saying, where's my product?
So that's the unique position as manufacturers. Every client, and rightfully so, wants it yesterday, or like, hey, I'm running out of stock. Can I get it faster? The reality is we have those conversations with just about every one of our customers. And it's not that we don't want that. We try, every day to exceed the expectation. But there are some challenges sometimes in the process that there is no cutting corners. And the process is the process. And with certain blends, it may take hours. So it just takes time, and doing it right, like you said, measure twice and cut once. Do it right the first time, may take longer, but in the end, your results are going to come back and prove that the blend process was right.
I wish more customers kind of understood that when you are beholden to your manufacturer to make the product, you have no control. You have no control because the process has to be followed, and there's no exceptions to this rule. The process does not care about when your launch date is that you've promised your customers based on things that you've been told, because there's a lot of variables that are out of your control and out of their control, and it's just going to happen the way that it happens. You know, if a ship got delayed at the port and then all of a sudden it's going to take longer for this one material to get in that only your product uses in this entire manufacturing facility, you've got to realize at a certain point, like regardless of what your marketing initiatives are, when your launch dates are, when you promise this to your customers, when it's in the hands of the manufacturer, like you have no power. And, you know, once you have the product in your hands, that's the safest time for you to plan a launch window. You know, once you actually have the product, then you can go on and make your plans and fulfill your promises to your customers. But until that happens, you need to realize that there are steps that need to be followed in order to do things the right way.
You're also, if you're beholden to your manufacturer in this way, as all customers pretty much are, it goes both ways too. You know, you are trusting someone to do all of these right things, and in many cases they're not. One of the things I do like about being here with you guys, not that those things are finite, there's a lot of things I like, but you guys don't really point out like we do these things and other people don't. You know, in most of these cases, you guys are like, this is what we do because it's right. I think a lot of times when you talk about manufacturing, it's almost juxtaposed against what other people are doing that's wrong. You guys have really serious blinders on. This is what you guys do, and there's almost no comparison to really anyone else because it's the right thing to do. Like you guys are above and beyond the standards, and that's just how it is.
Well, I think our location has a piece to it. You know, we're on an island out here. We don't have, and we've been very fortunate with because of our customers that we don't have time to be paying attention to what's going on around us, or even, you know, whatever he or she or company said, we don't have time for it. Our responsibility is to put out quality product for our customers in as quickly a time that we can without jeopardizing the process. So location is kind of played to that. I feel like, you know, the blank slate theory, only Derek knew anything about manufacturing. I didn't know anything about it, so I came into this industry with blinders on anyway, you know, and kind of naive to what was going on. We committed to do manufacturing a certain way. The individuals that we hired, most of them that are here, when we brought them in, they were like me, what is that? I don't know what that machine is. Yeah. So it's all been like that for us and how our journey has been.
That's another thing I kind of wanted to point out. Seeing the test results here with you guys, you know, hitting your required label claim on PQQ in this blend with creatine monohydrate at 5 grams. You guys hire from your local community. Most of the people who walk into these doors as a new hire at Veritacor have no knowledge of this industry. None. Everyone that walks in is a blank slate. And it's really interesting that you guys in that sense are giving back to this community by educating all these people on a very complex manufacturing process that is FDA regulated, that's NSF certified, and all these steps need to be checked off. And most of the locals here have no clue about this magical place that exists here on the end of town. And I think that there's something to be said about that, where you guys are able to cultivate a culture here where everyone has these high standards, and your product still states that at the very end of it, where you're still able to create a homogeneous blend when you have 2 ingredients, one's 20 milligrams, and then another one is 5,000. I mean, I think that's a pretty cool testament to what you guys are doing here and the impact on the local community.
And this is extremely rare in the supplement industry, is that you guys aren't supplement people. Derek, you have a background in it, but for the most part, like I think that especially as customers, being really brands buying from a manufacturer, people are used to calling up a bro and talking to people who they worked at another manufacturer before that and they worked with them there. And there's a lot of legacy people, and I love those people, but you guys are uniquely like isolated, right? You guys give a great service to customers, and that's really it. They're not calling you because of a relationship of a long time in supplements. They're calling you because you guys deliver on exactly what you guys are promising. You have a background in cattle, right? And I think that like this hard work ethic, it's people aren't coming to you for brand new ingredients. You guys source ingredients for people if they need it. People come to you because you have a great relationship with them, because of that what you guys promised, you follow through on. And I not that a lot of people don't follow through on promises in this industry, but a lot of it just becomes like an old boys club. where it just kind of perpetuates on its own. And I think that isolated like island, like that was a great point to it, is that I think that you guys can actually really forge great relationships with your customers, because there's no rat race of industry here, which is really refreshing.
Well, and you're setting a reputation for consistent integrity. And I think that is only something you can really do on an island.
Yeah.
Because if you're too commingled with the industry, I mean, there are those people where they don't have good reputations, and or there is that bro kind of mentality, and you guys are able to kind of insulate yourself from all that.
So the blending's gone great. Well, let's talk about the blending. You got bin blenders and you got ribbon blenders, but there's also paddle blenders. Could you guys talk to Derek why you chose the blenders that you use and really why you went that way?
Yeah, so when we first started, we had the bin blender, which was we had a 500 liter and a 1,000 liter bin, which we quickly outgrew once you start dealing with proteins and some of the larger pre-workouts and amino acid blends. You're starting to do a lot more volume, so you need the space. So
can you explain what a bin blender is? Like how that what
so
that means?
So the bin blender, it just rotates on an axis, and it just turns top over bottom just in a rotation. You can set the rotation speed and the time amount of time you're blending there. There's no blades inside turning. There's no intensifier bar. It's just rotating. We try to keep it between 40 and 70% full, because that's what helps with the moving of the materials through the bin. It's a very good blender for when you're dealing with small amounts of material, multiple materials. It does a very good job in making sure that that blend is homogeneous. Now we do use a ribbon blender now for our proteins, and again let the larger volume runs, and it's a very good. It can get through. You can speed up the blending process with that, because you actually have the ribbons who are they're moving the material in two different directions inside that container. So the only thing is with that, you can actually it can shear. If you're using a sensitive material, it causes shearing and can break down the material, or it actually can cause more heat. So if you have something that's heat sensitive, it can actually start to gum up, and that can actually get into your blend and everything. So you have to be very cognizant of that, make sure that doesn't happen.
Do you add excipients to deal with that heat, or is that just like a thing that maybe you blend it slower?
Yeah, we'll blend a little slower with that, right? So a paddle blender is what you would use for something like that, to not have so much heat build up, and actually it's a little more gentle with the
about
blend.
the shear.
Yeah,
The ribbons are high shear and the paddles are low shear.
Yeah.
So the other thing with paddles is, like, if you're making a protein that has inclusions because of that low shear and that scooping motion of the paddles, like if you have cookie bits in there, it's not going to turn your
grind
cookie
them up.
bits into dust.
Yeah.
So there's a difference between scooping and shearing motions that people don't realize is like opposite
Like a blade.
directions.
Yeah.
Right. Interesting.
This is the debate that we've been talking about just, even yesterday, because we're in a position now where we need to purchase bigger blenders because of the volume that we're using for protein and branched chain amino acids. So the question was posed, well, what's the best out there? Is it paddle? Is it ribbon for doing larger runs of powder?
For different jobs.
That almost makes me think that because you have a ribbon blender, it'd be more valuable to have the variety of having a paddle blender rather than only having a massive ribbon blender, and then you have two ribbon blenders.
I wouldn't get a massive paddle blender.
No, but I just mean to have the variety between the ribbon and the paddle versus
for the different jobs.
Yeah, instead of having like a medium and a huge.
Well, just like
ribbon.
you said, if you need inclusions, you're not going to put it in there because it's just going to
Poof
Yeah.
them
Yeah.
to dust.
But the good thing about that ribbon blender is also when you have materials that sometimes beta alanine, caffeines, and they're a little clumpy, and then you can actually use that to break it up, and it turns out pretty good without having to use a mill.
So that shearing force actually can be valuable in some
Yes.
cases.
Yes.
Interesting. How do you come up with the timing? Because we were talking about before, if you do it too long, it can segregate again. Do you do smaller batches and scale that up, or do you kind of just
So
do you
that
just know
depends.
this?
That depends on the customer, right? So again, it goes back to what the customer wants, and they time constraints, financial constraints. They don't have the money to run pilot runs, and so what we do is we try to validate a blend. We'll blend the material, and then we have a sampling. We take sampling out of multiple points in the blend and make a composite, and then we'll send it off to the lab and have it tested to make sure that you have that homogeneous blend and you're actually hitting the numbers you need.
So you would do a big blend and test it before you bottle it.
Yes.
That costs time, but that's what you do for quality. Interesting. And when you do that a few times, do you start to learn it better? And so the more batches you do, the less you have to do that.
I mean, you saw it on the powder side and all those different blue buckets and stuff over there. Those could be in-process things that are being sampled and tested.
Yeah.
Well, and that's a good point. We're getting to a phase now that our blenders are batching ahead of time. And so when those batches happen, we send that out for testing to validate. So it's sitting in those lined blue drums with documentation, so that way quality knows exactly where in the process it is in. But, like Derek was saying, it takes multiple blends and multiple tests to actually validate, how you're putting and layering the ingredients in, how long you're blending. So it's a process, but it takes multiple batches to verify.
A lot of the conversations we've had this week are about scaling and efficiencies, right? You guys do fundamentals really well, but you're trying to look at how do we grow from here in ways that are more efficient for the business and for the customers, which is a really interesting inflection point. Like when we were in the other facility, you were talking about we have space to grow. When people want to come here and grow with you guys, it seems like there's a lot of opportunities where you can learn the batches with them. You can learn the processes with them. It's actually really exciting. Did you have something? Sorry.
Well, I think you're just leading that into a really cool place as far as the timeline of this facility, because I remember long ago meeting you guys when you just had this building and that building, and then you expanded into was this the third phase and that was the second phase? And just kind of understanding where do you think you guys are going to be? What are your aspirations for the future, and how are you guys planning to grow beyond this?
Well,
could you actually tell us the story? Because I love. I'm sorry, I know you've done it twice already, but the story, with the containers
and
the
phase expansions,
different phases.
Well, we didn't know, where we were going to be in this journey. We just knew we made a commitment to one another. Our founders are a family, which I feel like can be really good at times, and the only times I shouldn't say not good, but it's the pressure I think that we feel sometimes, because man, they've invested in us,
You don't want to let your family down.
It's like the ultimate, we got to do this, so it's served us, but when we first started, and going back to our business plan, which we poke fun at our founders, we're like, well, remember, we just wanted an encapsulator, this isn't what our plan was, but when we first started, it was just one building, roughly 12,000 square foot. It was roughly 7,000 square foot that this first building was in, and that was it. We had 800 square foot of warehouse space that was in this building, and as we started to expand, we were like, well, how are we going to expand our storage? It's full. So I think my brother-in-law, he was like, well, why don't we get shipping containers? And we're like, man, that's genius, and then we were like, well, okay, but we have ingredients. We're obviously in Texas, humidity and heat. So we spray foamed one of the containers and built a custom HVAC system in it, and that's what housed our ingredients. We had 2 shipping containers that were just there that housed packaging components that weren't so susceptible to the heat and humidity, and that kept us going to enable us to continue to scale. Then as we continue to grow, it was like, well, we got to build another building. While we're waiting on that building, that's where the shipping containers came into play. Then we expanded into another 12,000 square foot of space. In that building, we knew we needed to house ingredients, and one of the things that we took, great pride in, was being able to have customers come in, or even tell our clients, you can trust that your ingredients are housed in what we feel like is a state-of-the-art facility. It's been completely spray foam, custom dehumidifiers, custom HVAC system, so temperature, humidity remains constant, so that way it ensures the integrity of the ingredients that are coming in that we are then manufacturing for our customers. So again, the growth kept happening, and then we were like, well, now what? So that was our third phase that you're referring to, Joey, that's behind us. So now it's 32,500 square foot of space that we've built. But you're asking, where are we going? You know, our vision is to have 200,000 square foot of space. And at 200,000 square foot of space, that will enable us to service X amount of sales per year. So then we start with the end in mind. We know where we want to go. And what do we do to scale at each phase? What software systems do we put in place? What team members do we add? What consultants do we have? How do we continue to develop our team within? These are all plans that we have in place, but 200,000 square foot is the goal.
Can we talk about capabilities that you have right now? Like, if someone wants to come to you, what kinds of products can you create? What kind, you know, at a high level, I don't necessarily need to go like super nitty gritty on it, but at this point in the phases, what kind of products can you create? What are the capabilities?
Yeah, so one of the things that we do a lot of is protein. So a lot of proteins, a lot of electrolytes. Creatine's a huge product for us, a lot of BCAAs. So we feel like we've kind of started to specialize when it comes to powders and proteins, collagen products, BCAAs, then capsule products. We do a lot of capsule work, and obviously packaging.
Yeah, you have quite a line of automatic encapsulators, but also semi-automatic encapsulators.
Shout out to TK on the custom packaging with these embossed lids and these printed liners. Like, this is incredible.
And the labels.
And, well, obviously, yeah, the labels as well. But, like, this product line, like, I do want to touch on this because you guys have recently made inroads with Core Culture. I mean, this is your flagship brand into GNC franchise, and I've heard that is picking up immensely. And you've because I remember when it like this product line was like maybe 3 products, and you've expanded that into several different categories now, and it's becoming something that GNC franchise really likes because you've got solutions for cognition, for men's health, for women's health even, which is a huge growing category. What has that been like for you guys in actually having like this product line expanded to GNC?
Well, we're obviously manufacturers, so why not create our own brand? You know, but it was the same kind of belief system, same mindset. When we build this brand, we're not just going to build a brand. We're going to build what we feel like is like highest, dosage, the cleanest ingredients, all natural, because it's just the vision of what Core Culture is. Like protein, for example, there's only 5 ingredients in that product, and it's all natural. So definitely huge shout out to TK Nutrimedia. I mean, what you see there for label design, we feel like we may be a little biased, but we think that those are kick-ass labels. Packaging is completely custom. If you look at the top, there is an Enzo circle, which I'm not sure if many people know, but this Core Culture logo that you see is actually an Enzo circle. I don't know if you guys are familiar with what an Enzo circle is. So I looked this up because I didn't want to get it wrong, and I wanted to make sure that I spoke intelligently about this. So, an Enzo circle is a hand-drawn circle that is a powerful symbol in Zen Buddhism. It is typically drawn in 1 or 2 uninhibited brushstrokes to express a moment when the mind is free to let the body create. Enlightenment and the universe. It represents absolute enlightenment, infinity, the void, and critical nature of existence. So if you look at the back, you'll see there is a description, mind, body, soul, kind of just some pillars, that Core Culture was founded on. There is just some description of the Enzo circle. The product, so like for example, this mushroom product, they're all extracts, 8-to-1, 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 maitake, cordyceps, reishi, shiitake, turkey tail, lion's mane, but all extracts. The protein's 100%, 90% WPI, no fillers, 100%. We have the testing to prove the purity of that product as well. Creatine, same thing, all COAs, all testing that's done. You spoke about like the female aspect of it. Obviously, we have a female founder. New Man was created, and it wouldn't be fair if we just created a new man. So there is a new woman product, and then a menopause product. We have a core mag product, and then soon we'll have a daily greens product. Nice. 3 different flavors that are coming out. And yeah, so it's been a passion project of ours. With the amount of time that we put into Veritacor each day. Again, TK has done an incredible job of continuing to forge ahead with core culture, has made some great contacts through his network, and we're seeing a lot of traction in GNC. Our thought was, man, if we can win in our backyard, we're here in Texas, why not try and win in our backyard? So that was the first goal, to be in GNC here in Texas. Now plans are to expand outside of that and make this brand, recognized all over, the United States, and who knows, maybe it could go global.
I think that going into GNC franchise and standing out the way that you do, with everything being all natural sweeteners and everything, you have a very approachable product line. Like, anyone can approach this product line and not be intimidated by it, like some hardcore this or that kind of product. And then the natural flavors and sweeteners makes it, there's nothing to object to. You take down any kind of potential alienation of a customer that might exist, and you just try to make something that's just broadly acceptable by everyone. And I think that that's one of the best approaches that you could possibly take here.
I like that it's very natural, but it's not overly crunchy. It's very relatable for a lot of people, and I think that people can kind of project themselves onto it. I think that the claim of being all natural a lot of times can almost become off-putting when you go in Sprouts and Whole Foods and stuff, because it's like a holier than thou type feeling that this product is so
But yet
clean.
this product could still exist in those retail outlets.
Yes, it can go many places. It's a lot of people can be interested in this, but not be an ultra alfalfa, drinking a wheat shot type person, right? I like that a lot, because I think that a lot of us are getting into eating more whole foods, right? Getting away from a lot of synthetic stuff, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we're vegan. It doesn't necessarily mean that we're crazy about all natural. We just want more natural sources and less frivolous ingredients.
I think RFK would approve of this entire brand.
For sure. The fact that you mentioned there's only 5 ingredients, right? Even that there, it doesn't really vilify anything. It just says, hey, it's simple and you know exactly what you're putting in your body, and you can't really be afraid of very much in here, right?
Well, the labels must be doing something right. So here's was our thing. If you read the back, then it says you, me, we are core culture.
Absolutely.
It's for everybody. No matter where you are in your fitness journey, you don't have to have 6-pack abs, a big bicep to be part of core culture. Core culture is everybody, and no matter, where you are, what you're trying to do, there's a product for you. And you can know that when you're getting this product and you read that label, that what's on that label is in that bottle or is in that pill.
Well, health and fitness is becoming so mainstream and just accepted by normal people, right? It's no longer maybe just like Arnold and Sylvester Stallone, right? It's becoming much more normal, and what that looks like is becoming a lot more normal. The people joining run clubs aren't necessarily ripped and huge, but they're doing better. They're making better choices in their lifestyle, and they're adopting better habits, and stuff like this is really approachable, right? People, mushrooms are getting huge, but not a lot of people are going to go after the crazy, Paul Stamets mushroom stacks. But this looks like something that, someone looks at that like, I have heard that lion's mane is really good for my brain. I have heard that cordyceps is really good for me. This is something that a lot of people would feel okay with that being on their counter. We hear this a lot. Can this product exist on my counter? We see these pre-workouts named Mindfuck or some crazy stuff, but this is something that a lot of moms, a lot of just normal people who don't necessarily want insane clown posse type branding on their counter. This is very relatable and
I think
open.
that's funny that that's something that consumers look for in supplements these days. This has to look good on my kitchen counter, but you're not wrong. I mean, and all of this would look great on anyone's kitchen counter.
We talked about this last night on the may or may not release episode of Subworks, is that the products that we use, we're in such an age of consuming that we want it to be a flag that we fly, right? It represents who we are. And core culture is so kind of open to interpretation for a lot of people, that I think a lot of people can feel very comfortable expressing themselves through it.
But it's not just a product; it's also a beautiful piece of art. It's something that you can put on your counter, and it's like, yeah, that looks cool. I'll keep it there.
Yeah.
Like Klaus says, well, you can save the bottle. You know, those bottles you can save and turn it into a light or something. You know.
Yeah.
That is a cool thing about these clear bottles.
Yeah.
Put some candles in it.
Yeah.
It looks like a vase or something. Okay, so we've blended the product. It's been packaged. It's been labeled. It's been sealed. There's a lot lasered onto it, printed onto it, and it's now made its way out of the packaging line. Where does it go from here, Derek?
All right, so after packaging, we'll send it over to the warehouse where it has another quality check. So they'll do a count. We pull some finished samples and we send them off to the lab. Usually we'll pull the samples right off the line, midway or the beginning, midway, and at the end of the production run. So we'll send some samples off for testing, make sure, again, no micro metals, and also we assay test. So we're testing some of the ingredients to make sure that they're within the label claim. So in the warehouse, we get it ready for shipping. Again, we do the count, make sure that the count's correct. They close out the batch record, making sure that everything's done. Create a finished product COA for the product and send that off to the customer. The customer's notified of the product, and then we'll ship it out.
And you guys do third-party logistics from your own warehouse, right?
Yes.
So if I'm a new famous TikToker and I want to make a whole brand with you guys, I could feasibly bring you a formula. You guys could bring it to life, and it could never even get shipped to me from your facility, and you guys could fulfill to Amazon, TikTok Shop, or like maybe Shopify, stuff like that. You can actually do all those logistics.
Yeah, we do fulfillment here also. So if again, like Frank said, if we can bring something to life and we can keep it here, we can be, keep the thing all, do the thing all the way for whoever.
It feels like the future of supplement CPG. TK and I have talked like so many times this week, like, well, become a famous YouTuber, you can sell product like crazy. And so many of these people probably don't want to have their own warehousing. So to be able to work with you guys to know that stuff is taken care of. I was joking. I used to own a clothing brand, and my least favorite part of it was shipping. I hated doing that. I was just a snotty early 20s and didn't want to do manual labor like that. But to be able to take care of that for a brand, that's massive. And you guys are servicing the customer so much. How long have you been doing that?
The 3PO?
Yeah.
Man, it's been about 7 months now that we started to do that. A little over 6 months ago, we implemented a software system called NetSuite, and with the implementation now, with all the plugins that you can add into NetSuite, it makes things much more streamlined. The communication through the system is extraordinary, and then what the communication, real-time communication that we can then communicate to our customer, because it gives real-time inventory, allows them to then predict forecasting when they need to order again, what their current inventory is. So it's a hands-on experience and live up-to-date data, so that way the end user knows exactly where they are in their sales cycle.
Does that help you guys work with those customers to make sure that they're kind of staying in, because you're monitoring their stock here and then you're kind of making it for them?
Yeah, so I think because of the system, it helps with projections. Like some of our clients don't know their projections, but this software system, we can project for them, and it can give alerts, and it can say, okay, well, Ben, it's time for you to order again, and you're like, oh, I get an alert, oh, it's time for me to order again, and then we're doing all the back end stuff to make it happen. That way you don't run out of stock.
That's awesome. With your background in manufacturing, do you have any questions or any comments?
Not really. Like If I were to ask some questions, it would probably be about like the nuances of the NSF certification. And as far as like, I know that process can be nerve wracking, like as you're approaching the day of your audit and you're like, oh man, I hope I have shit together. Was there anything like during your audit where they brought out like something random and you're like, where it's like, you weren't expecting them to like ask you actually at the audit and you're like, oh yeah, I do have that. And that's like weird things like pest control, or like are your brooms organized in the closet or some weird shit like that.
Well, they did get us. I mean, like you're asking there. The question was, they wanted to know about our keeping of razor blades and accounting for them and signing them out and
Especially
signing them back in.
warehouses. Yeah.
Well, that caught me off guard there, and we weren't doing that.
You weren't accounting for your razor blades?
Yeah. So we,
So it doesn't end up lost in a product or
exactly,
something.
exactly.
But that's what the metal detector's for, right?
Yes. So we got, they got us on that, but that was not again, it's when you're talking about quality, we were told, you can go to, to a full extreme of quality and then you have the other end of it, no quality, right? So you want to do the best you can, staying up all the way. I mean, they're gonna find something sometimes, right? And that's the point of it, is to find your weaknesses so you can improve on them.
But usually, if it's something so minor like that, they'll let you develop the SOP on site and be like, "All right, go ahead, go away, make your SOP, bring it back to me, and it'll be okay."
Yeah.
But when Frank was talking, like there's an A to Z, and every letter has an A to Z. That's like all the way at W, and under W subsection it's X, and you're like, okay, this is pretty far down the list of priorities, where it's like, okay, I'll give you a pass, go make your SOP, implement the SOP, do your sign-offs and everything, and we'll include it in the audit, and life is good.
It's also important to note that we're talking about SOPs here. We're not talking about NSF finding a razor blade and electrolyte product.
Right.
We're talking about the process that you have in place to ensure that that doesn't happen.
Yes.
Because that's a lot of what this is.
They're also not compliance Nazis, because NSF's goal is to elevate the industry as they go and do these audits. So if there's anything that they can do for you, like, hey, I know you're getting this audit and everything, I'm not going to fail you for not having a razor blade SOP, but it's something that we can work on together to make you guys better, to where you're reaching, this level. And that's why we're here, is to work together to make everyone better. And I think that's a good thing.
Yes.
And it's all about developing those SOPs together so that then more people can learn those things and everyone can elevate themselves.
Well, you want to be tested, right? So if you're not tested, you're never going to know where your weaknesses are or how to improve. So you want to be tested. So, I don't want to say I invite the FDA to come in here all the time and think, ruin,
Sure.
our day. But again, if they don't do it, you're not going to know, what you need to improve on. What are they looking for? You want that. You want to get better every day. The goal is 1% better every single day, right?
Yeah. TK's bringing up something about expiration dates and people doing them differently. I don't know,
So expiration dates. You're going to have a lot of brands. They require expiration dates, right? But again, on expiration dates, there's a whole gambit of testing that goes with that, right? You have to have stability testing done on these products.
Yeah.
And that's costly. And
you have
again,
to test for, this is something that Mike McCandless brings up a lot in our comments
Stability
section.
testing?
Well, the fact that people aren't just testing, people aren't even third-party testing products often.
No.
So the fact that to actually have an expiration date, oftentimes you would need data to prove that these ingredients are tested out for a best by date when it no longer meets label claim. But most times people are just putting 2 years on supplements in general and calling it there, correct?
Well, another thing is, if they actually had those 2 years worth of data, you'd find more often than not that most products will actually maintain potency past that expiration date.
Right, but the point of this expiration date is just to say that by this point, the label claim will still be true.
Right.
Correct?
And you can project that off of 90 days or 180 days worth of data where you're doing this in a stability chamber. But that gives you confidence up until the 2 years. And that's what most people opt for.
Right.
Yeah, I think the perception is, or maybe just, hey, I know, but I'm just going to say, is that everybody just slaps an expiration. We even have customers that come in, my old manufacturer, they weren't, because we historically put manufacture date on the bottom of our bottle.
Yeah.
You will receive documentation that will say that the stability testing is your responsibility if you are saying you need an expiration on the bottom of your bottle. But we still whole retained samples. So like Joey's point, we can at least, since we're retaining, we can send samples of that product at certain dates, so that way we're testing how the stability of those ingredients or the efficacy of those ingredients at whatever dates are being said. But it's not just, I'm looking at all these COAs and I'm going to do the expiration date by whatever is of the ingredients that's coming up. That's not it. And it's not just you can put on whatever expiration you want. There should be true stability testing done by a lab to validate what that expiration on the bottom of the bottle is.
And there's other reasons other than potency why something might expire, because say on whey protein isolate, for example, over time, it can get a sour milk kind of funk to it. Even though everything on there totally meets label claims, should be totally fine, it just isn't going to taste the same as when it was fresh made. That's another reason that something could fail stability that has nothing to do with the chemical properties of what's in it, other than just the organoleptic, the smell, taste, touch.
But we all know very well that there are a lot of people that take old whey protein and blend it again and put a new expiration date on it, right?
Right.
I'm not saying that's the right thing to do. I'm just saying that happens a lot.
I'm a weirdo who will consume bad whey protein with the funk and everything. My headcanon was going in a completely different direction there. We know people who will eat bad protein. I'm like, is he calling me out?
I mean, there's a lot of things that have happened. Some people buy, protein with that doesn't test out salmonella, and they'll just blend it into bigger lots to bring down that amount, because there's a certain amount of salmonella
dilution?
that's allowed, right? And if you dilute that in non-salmonella contaminated whey protein, all of a sudden you've got lower amounts of salmonella in your whey protein.
Look at this. Salmonella, absent.
That's good news of this conversation. I'm sorry to be bringing this up while talking about dairy manufacturing. I apologize for the heads up here.
Not these guys, though.
Yeah, not these guys.
That could have gone wrong if that result. We're live.
But it becomes this thing where that's probably technically, you could say that you could do that in an NSF facility. That's legal to do. It's well within what you're basically doing is getting below that threshold for salmonella, but that is not ethical. This is an example of something where when you have core tenets of what your ethos of your company is, if it doesn't meet those are the people I like to spend my time around, where it might be legal, but it's not ethical to do.
Well, yeah, you're saying there's people out there that will blend salmonella, but blend it into something different, to dilute the salmonella. I've never even heard that. I'm like, I can't even believe somebody would think to do that.
Yeah.
But it goes back, I feel like, being naive to what's out there.
Exactly.
The team members here, they don't know any other way than what what we do on a daily basis. So never even had I've never even heard that until just now you're saying that. I've never heard that.
I'm sorry for
scarring them.
I'm sorry for bringing you into sweet. I'm out of topics. I'm out of questions. This has been really interesting.
This has been a solid podcast.
Yes. Thank you so much for having us in here. This has really been incredible. You've let me live out a dream in here with this podcast. You guys have a beautiful facility, and I'm really excited to see the growth. So thank you guys.
Yeah, well, we appreciate you coming down. I know we both talked about, at some point we're going to do this. It just hadn't presented at the right time, but it was the right time. So we appreciate you coming in.
Yeah.
Joey's saying, we've been, how long have we known each other, even before manufacturing?
27, almost 10 years, Frank. Yeah. How does that feel?
And now, we're here on the podcast. The first one we've ever done, by the way. I have to get that out there because this is not something that Derek and I do, but
you guys have done great. Yeah, a lot of people get nervous with cameras, but I think I said this to you guys yesterday. It's just a conversation between some bros. It really helps that we've been talking for a couple days now too. But we always end this with kind of mentioning places that we can find you guys. I don't know if you guys like social media, but if you're on LinkedIn, if you're on Instagram or anything, and then of course, where can we find Veritacor?
Yeah, so Veritacor.com, www.veritacor.com is our website. We have social media at Veritacor. Where else? LinkedIn now. Veritacor has a LinkedIn. You probably won't find us much posting on there, but we are doing a better job at trying to put ourselves out there more. So that way, the industry, the world knows who the Veritacor is.
Yeah, we've already noticed.
And core culture.
Yes.
Culture, yes, good point, Joe.
Yeah, we are core culture. I believe there's a dot between.
Supply side.
That's right.
Yes.
Supply side.
Oh yeah, and you guys are going to be at supply side. That's coming up in October.
We will be at supply side. We'll be there with Nutrimedia. I'm sure we'll see you all there.
Sounds like we got some things brewing.
That's right.
That we can do
Yeah,
some cool
so
stuff.
to be continued with some more content.
Yeah, anyone that's listening that's going to be at supply side, really good idea to make it over to the Veritacor, Core Culture, a Nutrimedia booth and check out some cool stuff. So thank you guys so much for joining us. I'm excited to do this again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.